Hey, vinyl community. Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records, and my Lazy Dog Chester is over here chewing on a bone. I thought I'd do a video. First of all, this is not a record store day video. I'm not anti-record store. I just normally I've never gone to record store day. I figure anything I really want will be available later, and I don't want to get in the hectic pace of a record store day. That's and the pandemic doesn't help much either as far as that's concerned. Local record stores were doing online orders and by appointment visits. You go in and schedule a time to go in and pick up what you wanted. So I didn't do that, but what I did do was go to I was very fortunate a few years ago when I started seriously crate digging for records, meeting up at an auction, estate auction, a fellow from a nearby city near here in Lillington that is a pretty big time record buyer and seller, flipper, I guess you'd say. He doesn't have a shop. He does the record shows, and he's got a warehouse. And if you're willing to, if you're planning on buying a lot of records, he will meet you at his warehouse, and you can go in and go through with what he's got. And he's got tens of thousands of records, maybe 50,000 or more. I don't know. I'm not the greatest at estimating how many he's got, but he's got a bunch. And what I'm doing is I've got a booth table at one of my local antique shops. I pay rent to put out records there, and I have records for sale there. And I've got a bunch of records I'd like to sell, but my records tend to be less in demand. I guess you say a lot of country and some soul and things like that that doesn't move as quickly. And of course, I've got plenty of classic rock too. But what I tend to do is go to his place. I've been twice now, and buy 100 records or so from him, and I'll seed the table, I guess you'd say. I'll put out records that I know will be in demand, classic rock stuff mainly, and with the idea that people will get used to coming in, they'll buy those records, and maybe they'll decide to take a chance on something they're not as familiar with and buy some of my other records too. And so I'll get them, bring them home, clean them real good, put them in new inner sleeves and outer sleeves, and put them up at the gradually work them into the inventory there. Okay, so he's a real nice guy. I'm so glad he's like a special secret fishing hole. I'm not going to reveal the details about it because if everybody just goes there, then nobody's going to come to my table at the antique shop and pick anything up. What are we listening to right now? George Benson. Beautiful guitar of George Benson. Very good. This is one of those good old Columbia House records, manufactured by Columbia House. So some audio files may not like the particular pressing, or whatever of this. Maybe it's not as high quality. It sounds pretty darn good to me. This is Living Inside Your Love, George Benson. Okay. All right. So the biggest problem when I go to the warehouse is to resist as much as possible the urge to buy a bunch of records that I'm going to end up keeping myself. Okay, so I try to keep in mind what I already have, and remind myself, am I really going to listen to it? Yeah, sure, it's a good record. Am I really going to listen to it enough to warrant keeping it? There's always a few that I keep. So first I'll show you some I knew I would keep from the beginning. I went through his country section and picked up a few things. And he had a couple of boxes. He said, I haven't gone through these yet, so I don't know if they're this set price I was buying all the records for, or if they're more. You know, he said. So look through them, and I showed them to him after I was through, and he said, I better look these up. He looked up 6 records. He said, I got to keep these because they're pretty rare and are bringing right much money. And he said, but these others we made a deal with. I'll bring in, if I've got stuff, all my records at the antique shop are one price, $4. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Everything's $4. So if I've got stuff, and you know, sometimes stuff's worth $6 or $7, but other stuff, you know, you can go to a record store and buy it for $1 or $2. So I think it evens out. But people, when they go to my shop, what they're doing is they're getting a record that's already been cleaned, is in reconditioned, put in a new sleeve, so and it's inspected. I don't play every single one of them, but I look them over pretty darn good. Hopefully, catch most of the problems before they get set out there. So you know, I think that's worth $4, where they might go to a thrift shop and dig through and get it for $1 or $2. You may get it home and it not play worth $1. Okay, so but I carried a copy of David Bowie's Hunky Dory, 1971 issue of Hunky Dory, which I had gotten for $4 at another antique shop that wasn't mine, and I knew it's worth more than that. You know, it was in pretty good condition, but not pristine by any means. But I think it's a $15 record or so. I already had a reissue of Hunky Dory from 1977 or 76, I believe 77. So, you know, I'm not obsessed with first editions and things like that. So, and it played well. So I said, I've got this, no need to keep this other one. And so I traded him that Hunky Dory and $10 for these 4 records that I'll show you, and then the other records were one set price. Okay, Ernest V. Stoneman. This is on Rounder Records, and this is the Blue Ridge Corn Shuckers. Ernest V. Stoneman and Blue Ridge Corn Shuckers. This is from his 1920s era. You know, he was right. He's contemporary of the Carter family, and his family, when they grew up in the 1940s forward, they were a band, mainly a bluegrass band. Then, of course, this is pre-bluegrass here. So this is a Rounder historical record. Got some damage to the cover and everything, but the vinyl is in real good shape. Big Earl Scruggs fan, and Earl Scruggs Review. Gary and Randy Scruggs, All the Way Home. I did not know they did their own album, but there it is on Vanguard. And I thought this was an interesting one. And a county, whenever I see county records, I usually scoop them up. They're usually historically significant. This is County 525, a Fiddler's Convention in Mountain City, Tennessee, 1924 to 1930 recordings. Recordings from a Fiddler's Convention. Now, if I had the inside jacket, which I don't, it would tell me who all these gentlemen were in the front picture. Okay. But vinyl, again, is in really good condition. You know, these are $5 records, probably, maybe. You know, if they were in better condition, they're, you know, $15 or $20 records, probably, jacket condition. But, you know, they're $5 records, probably. And this one is Sycamore Tea, excuse me. This is Dutch Cove Old Time String Band, Sycamore Tea. And this is a family band from around Canton, North Carolina. And this is on June Apple. It's actually a 1978 release, so it's not a real old release. But it's got a great note here. Some people hate when people write on record jackets, but this is from the bass player Cynthia Smathers. It's the Smathers family band. I hope that my favorite little Spanish lady enjoys our music. So somebody she knew from Spain, she gave her this record, and it ended up in my hands. Okay, so there is the real, I've got to have these. The rest of these records were kept for one reason or another, which I'll mention. I collect North Carolina artists. I'm not a big fan of Nantucket, but this is either their second or third album. And Nantucket out of Jacksonville, North Carolina, they were pretty big in classic rock. This is a long way to the top. And I want to have all their albums. I didn't think I had Who's Next on vinyl. I've got it on CD. This is in rough shape, so I hate to set it down. The jacket is in real rough shape. Vinyl's in good condition. I hate to set it out in that condition, so I think I'll just keep it so I'll have it. One of the first albums I ever bought was this album. Okay. Always liked Vassar Clemens, and I didn't have, I don't think I may, but I don't think I've got a copy of Superbo. So here is Superbo from 1975 on Polygram. If I do have a copy, I'll probably put it down at the shop. And this is a Paul Simon I don't already have. And here's a nice soundtrack for The Graduate with that iconic Dustin Hoffman looking at Mrs. Robinson's leg. Who is that that stars in that? I forgot who that. Buck Henry's in it. I know that. But, another one of the early albums I ever bought. I keep trying to find a better copy of this one. This Santana album. I bought two of these. One will go to the shop, and this one looked like the cleanest copy. I haven't played it yet. Mazzy keeps singing the praises of Quicksilver Messenger Service. I have Shady Grove, but I don't have Happy Trails. So there is Happy Trails. It is a great cover, isn't it? And I may or may not keep these. Jefferson Airplane, Volunteers. I'm not the biggest Jefferson Airplane fan. I'm sometimes disappointed. This is in rough shape cover, but this takes off. So I'm keeping that one. It's got a note here. I'm not going to read it right now. But I'm keeping that. The vinyl's in good shape. I'll keep that one probably. I won't put that one out in the shop because of the rough shape of the cover. And then this is Bath at Baxter's. Is that what it's called? After Bathing at Baxter's. Yeah, After Bathing at Baxter's. Jefferson Airplane. Always looking for a better copy, cleaner copy of this than what I have. So I got two of those. I'll probably, I usually give those to people that are getting that are getting into vinyl. That I know. I'm trying to get all of Steve Goodman's, and here is one of his on his own label, Red Pajama Records. This is Unfinished Business, Steve Goodman. I didn't have that album. I think I got all the rest. Most of the Waylon I had in 8-track, it tells you when I was listening, in 8-track or some of it in CD. So I don't have all the vinyl. I had Ramblin' Man in 8-track back in the day, and I've always been crazy. So those will go in my collection. And Best of Cream. Here's a Rolling Stones Flowers. Didn't have this album. We just showed our Rolling Stones, didn't we? Showed our Stones. Well, there's one I had to show. Mitch Easter, Let's Active. Jangle, we talk about power pop and jangle rock, that sort of stuff. This will definitely fit the bill. Every Dog Has His Day. Mitch Easter. who, of course, owns Mitch's Drive-In Studio in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where REM did their first recordings, and a lot of other bands. The Kinks' greatest hits. I like the Kinks. This is real. I don't think it's supposed to be that way. I like the Kinks, but I'm not, some people just love the Kinks. But I've got to listen to them more before I'm overwhelmed by them, I guess. There's that double album, Buffalo Springfield. I think it's kind of a compilation. And I got 2 copies of Love, Devotion, Surrender, Carlos Santana and John McLaughlin. Everybody was into the Eastern Gurus, weren't they? Okay, but there are a lot of people in the vinyl community recommend this particular album a lot. So when I saw it, I jumped on it. Okay, and the rest of what I've got, well, I've got a little bit to show you next, but I've got a friend that just moved from one end of the state to the other, and he was a big influence on my musical life, and he's kind of can't get around a whole lot because of family obligations these days, and so I'm going to send him a VCLT, even though he isn't part of the community. He has always had a turntable, and he's the guy I was talking about that carried me to the Billy Taylor concert. I said, we really ought to go to this, and we went. But he exposed me to a lot of music, including Mitch Easter and Let's Active. So I'm going to send this to him in case he doesn't have that. And the Kinks, this is Muswell Hillbillies. And then here's Misfits and Low Budget. So one of the earlier, semi-earlier, mid-career, I guess, and 2 latter-day Kinks albums, plus the Let's Active I'm going to send to my friend, who I think will really appreciate them. And then one of my daughter's friend, in fact, her best friend, who was also a co-worker of mine before I retired, she had started teaching in the same school I taught with. So my daughter and she were at the same daycare for a while, and they were always been good friends. They're still good friends today. So I wanted to send, her boyfriend got her a turntable, and so I want to send, we'll drop off over at her place a few records, and I'll probably put more than this in there, but from this visit, he had bunches of Stardust, and I think everybody should have Stardust in their collection, so I'm going to send her this. This is a very common album, but this is a great country rock album, busting out. And I figured she'd probably enjoy the Pretenders, so I'll send that. And I think everybody should have Little Feat in their collection, so I'm going to send her the last record album from Little Feat. And the rest of what I got, we're just going to flip through. These are the things that are going to my shop. A lot of Yes albums. This particular Wings album, At the Speed of Sound, I bet he had a dozen of these. Lots of Paul McCartney and Wings stuff. One of my favorite albums ever, but I've got a great clean copy, so it'll have to go. I've got the compilation of the Turn, Turn, Turn and Mr. Tambourine. I don't have the single albums of this. I don't know whether I ought to keep this one or just put it out. The Joe Walsh, The Smoker You Get. Remember that album? Good one. Latter day Jimmy Buffett. After about the first 5 albums, I've got all I need. Everybody should have Little Feat in their collection, so hopefully somebody will find these and become a big Little Feat fan. Great Marshall Tucker album, their second. Greatest Hits. There's another really good one, about their 3rd or 4th. I think that one's 3rd, this one's the 4th maybe. And the classic Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
at Benatar. Great Ozark Mountains. I think they call this the Crazy Quilt album. It doesn't say that, but it's self-titled. Pretenders. Those early Rod Stewart albums were just really good. Ever noticed how much mandolin is in those albums? Robin Trower. Everybody should get some Robin Trower. I've got several of his. This is one of the first albums I ever bought when I was about 14. I keep on the VC having people recommend this Santana album with John McLaughlin, and I got 2 of these, so I'm keeping one and I'm going to put one at the store. Rolling Stones, believe it or not, at bargain prices. Paul Simon, everybody should have some Paul Simon. Steve Winwood, the same way. Lady's been asking for Stevie Nicks, and I finally found one for her. Steve Miller Band, Steppenwolf's classic album. Steely Dan, Supertramp, 10cc, Traffic, Toto, and I'm shocked. I've got several Who albums at the shop, but they really don't sell that quickly. But I got several of them. I thought, you know, somebody will come along and love the Who, and they'll buy all of them at one time. ZZ Top. Got 2 of these. There. And that one. So, there's what I got to go out in the shop.
We're back, and I'll just say, everybody remember, be kind to your neighbors, because we're all neighbors. Take care.
It is a river of light of light.